But here we have an interesting Mamar from the Lubavitcher Rebbe that he made in 1974. And it's talking about the necessity to always look at yourself like you're going out of Egypt. Like you're going out of Egypt. Going out of Egypt is the basis of Judaism. It's the birth of Judaism. It's the foundation of Judaism. It's the first of the Ten Commandments. First of the Ten Commandments, I am God that took you out of Egypt. We have to believe in the God that took the Jews out of Egypt. That's the only God there is. Here is, let's give charity. For some reason, at least in my screen, there's this strange line that goes through my face. I don't know what this is, but let's not let that disturb us. Here we go. Ready? Charity box. What to do with charity? All right. So B'chol Dor V'Dor. B'chol Dor V'Dor, in every single generation. This is the Rebbe made this on Yud Aleph Nisan, which that's his birthday. Tavshin Lamed Daled, 1974. B'chol Dor V'Dor, in every generation. Chayav Adam, a person is obligated. This is from a Mishnah. It comes from a Mishnah in Brachot. B'chol Dor V'Dor, every generation, a person is obligated to see himself as though he went out of Egypt, like it says, because of this, Asali Hashem, that God did to me when He took me out of Egypt. It's a sentence in the book of Deuteronomy. This is also in the Haggadah of Passover. Before Mishnah, the simple meaning is this, and also this is the law. This is a law. It's a law. Where is the law? It says in the Shulchan Aruch that a person must every day to look at himself as though he himself now is going out of Egypt. Called over to every generation. And when does this obligation really fall? This obligation really falls on the 15th day of Nisan. Oh, the picture is really bad here, isn't it? Huh? Interesting. Let me get another camera.
Rabbi, I can't really hear you so well. The sound is down.
You can't hear me? Well,
yeah. Put the volume a bit.
One second. How can that be? Here we go. Audio settings. Let me just see. Why is this? For some reason, I can't adjust it. 1 second. There we go. Let's try it again. See what's going on here. Why can't I adjust the audio settings? No, doesn't let me adjust the audio settings. I don't know why you still can't hear me. Strange, very strange.
I can hear you very little bit, but okay, it doesn't matter. Let's just go.
Okay. Every generation, every day, a person must see himself as though he is going out of Egypt. Let's see, how do I now get back to the original state where we were? Oh, here we go. Let's see. Stop the show. Let's go back here, and let's go back here. Here we go. Oh. Here we go. There we go. No, it should be good. I don't understand. Maybe there's something wrong with the camera. Could be there's something wrong with the camera. I see that the video.
It's fine.
The video is also not good. Okay. Let's go back to where we were. Okay. There is an obligation that everyone on the night of Passover, you must look at yourself like you are going out of Egypt. This is on the 15th day of Nisan, right? That was yesterday. We just did this. But Kavod Kedusha's Admor Azakin, but the first Rebbe of Chabad, he writes in the Tanya that after every generation, B'chol Dor V'Dor, every generation, in other words, every year, the Jewish people have already been out of Egypt for like 3,300, 30-something years. And since then, they've always been celebrating the going out of Egypt on Passover. That's what we have to remember, that where we came from. But the first Rebbe of Chabad in the book of Tanya, he adds on also B'chol Yom V'Yom, also every day. Namely, that the obligation, they wrote that smoke, to look at yourself as though you go out of Egypt. This is not just once a year on the 15th day of Nisan, but Gam B'Kol Yom, every single day. V'zem Matim, and this fits in psak din, with the law in the Mishnah in Brachot, in the Gemara Brachot, but it's also in the Mishnah right in the beginning, Maskirin Yetzias Mitzrayim B'Leilos, that we mention going out of Egypt in the nighttime. Like it says, Laman Tizkor Yom Tzeit Cham Eretz Mitzrayim, Kol Yamei Chayecha. You have to remember the day of going out of Egypt, all of the days of your life. That's what's in the Mishnah. Yamei Chayecha Ayamim. This is the days. This is what he says over here. That's in the Haggadah of Passover. But what it says in the Mishnah, that a person has to remember the going out of days of Egypt. It says Mazkirin Yetzias Mitzrayim B'Leilos, in the nighttime. When do you mention it in the nighttime? When you say Shema Yisrael, like it says Laman Tizkor Yom Tzei Me'eretz Mitzrayim Kol Yamei Chayecha, the days and which Kol Yamei, it says all the, so the days of your life, that means you have to mention in the daytime, and all the days of your life, even in the nighttime. What does this mean? In the nighttime, you might think that we don't mention going out of Egypt in the nighttime. Why? Because where is this mention of Egypt that they're talking about? Where is it? It's in a paragraph of the Torah that talks about tzitzit. Tzitzit is a garment that you wear. And in that paragraph that talks about this commandment of tzitzit, putting on the fringes, what they call on the garment here, there it mentions, I am God that took you out of Egypt. So you might think not to mention it in the nighttime because there's no obligation to wear tzitzit in the nighttime. Because there's no obligation to wear tzitzit in the nighttime, so you might think to leave this paragraph out, which they did for a while. But then came along, that mentioned in the Mishnah, Ben Zoma came along and he explained why it was. We've talked about this before. It was the day that Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah became the head of the Sanhedrin. It's a wonderful story. And that day, Ben Zoma explained why you should say the going out of Egypt in the nighttime, even though it has the commandment of tzitzit. That's where tzitzits are. Why? And he brought the sentence: you should mention going out of Egypt all the days of your life. The days would have been sufficient. You should mention the days of your life. Good. I mean, you know that when it says all the days, it implies that you should mention going out of Egypt. Remember going out of Egypt, even in the nighttime. And then there's another opinion that says even more. All the days of your life means, yes, I agree, the day and the nighttime, but all the days of your life, this implies also including the days of the Moshiach. It was even when in the days of the Moshiach, we must also then remember going out of Egypt. Therefore, Gambi Amota Mashiach, also in the days of the Mashiach, you should also remember going out of Egypt. This is all in that first Mishnah in Brachot, the first Mishnah of all the Mishnayot. So from here we learn that it's very important to remember going out of Egypt. And the simple commandment is to remember it once a year on Passover. And the first Rebbe of Chabad implies that you should remember it every day of your life. And the Mishnah comes and tells us not only that, but even when the Mashiach comes, we must mention going out of Egypt. Must remember, okay, Al Pizeh, according to this, Muvan, it's understood, that this whole topic of going out of Egypt, Yeshnam Kamadargos, there's many levels. The Kol Rosh, first of all, there is going out of Egypt, Kamo Shaya Papam Rishon. You have to remember going out of Egypt like it was the first time. What do you mean? They went out of Egypt one time. We went out of Egypt 3,300, and what was it then? 3,338 years ago, something. We left Egypt. You have to make the count. Then we actually left Egypt. All of the Jewish people, about 3 million of them, they all left Egypt. Papashu, simply, there was a country called Egypt that probably is in the same place as it is now, even though it was totally different rulership and totally different people there and totally different the government there. But nevertheless, we were contained, all the Jewish people for 200 years or more than 200 years. We were slaves in this country. And we got out. One night we got out. All of them, they all got out. Impossible task. They went out. Amazing. They all left. That's the birth of the Jewish people. That's pretty good. Then after that, there's also, that's going out of Egypt. Then also there's the commandment of remembering going out of Egypt every year. On that same date that we left Egypt, back then, 3,000 years ago. So we commemorate that date every year on the 15th day of Nisan. That's when they used to bring this, what's called the Pesach offering, on the 15th night of Nisan. And it continues on. It says 7 days you should eat matzah. So remember it the whole week. But that's the zikaron of going out, remembering going out of Egypt. That was the first time we remember what happened back then. And similarly, there's also an obligation of a person to see himself as though he himself was going out of Egypt. What do you mean that's going out of Egypt? Not just that they left, our forefathers left, but also there's an obligation, be'eta sipum, when we talk about going out of Egypt, be'eta mirat Haggadah, when we say the Haggadah of Passover, shezeu b'layla tet vav and Nisan, this was in the 15th day of Nisan. Like it says, because of this. What does it mean? It says, because of this, God took me out of Egypt. What is this? When there's matzah on the table, matzah and moror on the table. When do we eat matzah and moror? On the night of Passover, to commemorate what happened back then. But we should see it as though it is happening to us now. I mean, first of all, if we hadn't gone out back then, there was no way we could have gotten out. What happened getting out of Egypt was not a natural process. It wasn't a political, agreement or something that could happen every day. You know, people change their minds, governments change their minds. They realized it wasn't economically worth, or maybe just morally, they felt it was unfair that they should help the Jews to be, that they should keep the Jews in captivity. Maybe somebody stood up and said, listen, we're doing wrong, now we have to do the right thing. Right, some sort of movement, and it was not like that. The Egyptians did not want the Jews to leave Egypt, and miraculously, they all did. Miraculously, so that we have to remember that the fact that we're here now is because the big miracle that happened back then. But no, in addition to that, there's also an idea of going out of Egypt, remembering going out of Egypt every day. When do we go out of Egypt every day? So the first Rebbe of Chabad explains it in the Tanya, it's in chapter 47. And it says that this is the whole topic of Kriya Shema. When you say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, you take your mind off of yourself, which that's basically being in Egypt. You're thinking about yourself, you're limited, and you think about your Creator. Think about you being created. And the Creator cares about you. You start to think about that. That's going out of Egypt. Even though in the Torah it says, that when do you have to remember going out of Egypt? When there's matzah in front of you. And there's not matzah in front of you every day. But nevertheless, just like there is matzah, the time when the matzah and more in front of you, physically, so it is also the whole idea of matzah and moror, and even more the Pesach offering and matzah and more in front of us spiritually. What's spiritual matzah? Remember, we just finished learning a mimer in Likuti Torah. Likuti Torah. Do you remember? Just last week. And then matzah is humility. And moror is bitterness, that we're far away from God. Bitterness. Look, and therefore, Yeshnu Inyan, therefore we have the idea of going out of Egypt every day spiritually. Pesach, we said the Pesach offering, that symbolizes jumping. So every day, so when we say Shema Yisrael, so you should be thinking about God, stop thinking about yourself, that's going out of Egypt. And in order to really think about God, you have to have humility. You have to be humble, realize that I'm just a creation. You have to be bitter about how you were satisfied to be far away from God, and you're bitter about that. How could I have ever been satisfied to be far away from God? And then you have to make a jump. That's the Pesach offering. That's every time you say Shema Yisrael, twice a day. Kevin Shagam, also every day there is this idea of Ba'avur Zeh, when a matzah and moror is in front of us spiritually. This idea of humility and bitterness and the ability to do tshuva, jumping. And there's also another thing about going out of Egypt, which is even more than anything, that also in the days of the Moshiach, we'll also have to remember going out of Egypt. Charles and Mamar, like it says, like the days of going out of Egypt, I will show you miracles. In the prophecy of Micha, it's brought up a lot. God promises the Jewish people, it's the first of the 10 commandments that God says we have to remember that I am the God that took you out of Egypt. Just as then God took us out of Egypt by means of Moses, so God's going to take us out of Egypt, our spiritual Egypt that we're in now, also by means of Moses. And then it's going to be Moshiach. Like it's explained in the Zohar, Sha'atid Lavo, that in the future there will be miracles, afilu be'erech hamniflot that when we go out of, there's going to be miracles that are going to be like or even greater than the miracles that when we left Egypt. Hine gamaz, then also even then we'll have to remember going out of Egypt back 3,000 years ago. Then it'll be a secondary thing. What do you mean secondary? Nowadays, going out of Egypt was a big deal. You don't see miracles every day like that, splitting the sea. 3 million Jews suddenly waking up. God chose them. Every Jew knows God chose me and I'm special. And I'm leaving Egypt and I'm following after Moses. Right? All the Jews did it back then. And there was 10 plagues and God split the sea and God rained bread from heaven and water from a rock. Those are big, amazing miracles that happened in order to take all the Jewish people out of Egypt. That was pretty good. That's where we come from. That to be says those were big miracles. It's true, but that was only preparatory. That was only, how do you say, elementary miracles. When Mashiach comes, there's going to be even bigger miracles. How can they be bigger miracles than that? We'll see. We'll see. It's hard for us even to believe that there were miracles back then. Ask a normal Jew in the street, right? A non-religious Jew. Do you really believe God did us miracles, took us out of Egypt? That was a story, who knows? Maybe you make a movie out of it or something, but it's not really happened. That's what they say. I know that when the Jews left Egypt, there are many, this idea of going out of Egypt, there are many levels. That's what we say in the Haggadah. Just like the days of going out of Egypt, I will show you miracles. That the days of going out of Egypt, they are the beginning. And this gives us help in the idea of going out of Egypt like it will be every year, and also going out of Egypt like it will be every day. Then a person is obligated to see himself as though he went out of Egypt. In other words, a Jew should never forget that we are a miraculous people. But not just that we're a miraculous people, that God did us miracles and that he will certainly do us miracles again. And we're here only because of God's miracles. So we have to remember this once every year, and we have to remember it even more every day. And we have to look at it as though we ourselves are going out of Egypt every day. Until this gives power. So the going out of Egypt that was back then 3,000 years ago, this is what empowers us to do this. And even more, this gives power even in going out of Egypt in the days of the Moshiach. But since that also then, going out of Moshiach, we will mention going out of Egypt. So therefore, this memory, this is according to the Torah. And because it's written in the Torah, so obviously it must be that we have the power to do it. And so it's understood the going out of Egypt actually Eza inyan afilu be'amamad umasav darenu niflot sheyeh b'yamot HaMashiach. That this is important, that this is going out of Egypt I skipped a word. Yif'al will bring about something even when God takes us out of the exile that we're in now in the days of the Mashiach. So the question is like this. We're going out of Egypt, right? Back then was big miracles. But in the future, the miracles that are going to be are infinitely greater than the miracles that they left Egypt. I mean, back then. Just take, for example, we've talking about this many times before, and it really doesn't require us talking about it. It's a known thing. The Jews experienced all these amazing miracles when they left Egypt. And 50 days after they left Egypt, they got the Torah. they got the 10 Commandments in Mount Sinai. God gave them. And then Moses went up on Mount Sinai to get all the Torah, to bring down the whole entire Torah, 40 days. But the Jewish people made a mistaken calculation. He said he was going to be back in 40 days, and they mistakenly thought that the 40 days had ended. And they waited like 6 hours, according to their miscalculations. They waited 6 hours, and Moses didn't come. And they said, Moses is dead, and they made a golden calf. So we see that all the experience and all of the miracles that they had going out of Egypt, and they saw they were eating bread that came from heaven. It didn't do any good. They worshipped the golden calf. First of all, we see from this that the power of idolatry is very strong. Even if a person sees God, sees and hears directly from God, not to do it, it's I say you can't stand against it. The feeling of idolatry is so powerful. We don't have that nowadays to that same degree. I mean, there still is idolatry, but it's not the same degree as it was back then. But we see that the going out of Egypt that they had back then, it didn't really work 100%. It didn't really last, despite all the miracles and the amazing benefits that the Jews got and etc. And God was protecting them. It didn't help. In the future, when Moshiach comes, it's going to be the miracles will be so great and they'll be so internal that everyone will be convinced. That's why it says the third temple won't be destroyed and that all the Jewish people will be gathered to Israel permanently. So obviously it's going to be a big miracle. So why do we have to mention, when Moshiach comes, we have to mention going out of Egypt? Going out of Egypt didn't really succeed. Why? Let's have the question. But we have to understand the whole thing of going out of the Moshiach, of the arrival of Moshiach, Gadol Biyota, is amazingly great. This is what I just said. Like it says in the Midrash, this world that we're living now, since God created it 5,785 years ago, this world is like called the engagement. And when Mashiach comes, Yamot Mashiach, this is going to be the marriage. Now, there's all these 5,000 years, especially since the Torah was given, that was only a miracle, the engagement party, us with God. The Torah, it says, Mu'urasa Israel. The Torah was given. It's a Mu'urasha. Mu'urasha. Don't say Mu'urasha. No, Mu'urasa. It was we were engaged. When God gave us the Torah, it was the wedding day of God, but God did not really consummate the marriage yet. We haven't really been united with God in a way a husband is united with his wife that makes them married. We're, so to speak, only engaged. But in the future, when the days of the Mashiach, that's going to be the marriage. Then everyone will really feel intimately the creator of the universe. Ubefrat, and especially Kafiya Muva, like it's brought, Mashkatu, what it says in the Zohar, Shalati level, then in the future there will be miracles. Afilu be'erach liyamei Yetzias Mitzrayim. There will be miracles that will, even compared to the miracles of going out of Egypt, that will seem to be normal. And the miracles that are going to be in the days of the Mashiach that's going to really be miracles. Was going out of Egypt, when we went back then 3,000 years ago, that we'll get used to. We'll see those weren't real miracles. They were, like I say, preparatory miracles. And the big miracles that we're waiting for, that we can't even imagine what it is, just like the Jewish people back then in Egypt, they couldn't imagine the miracles that were awaiting them. The same thing is, we have no idea of the miracles that are awaiting us. That's Judaism. Like I said, that's the first of the 10 commandments. That's why the first of the 10 commandments is, I am God that took you out of Egypt, to let you know that God does things like that and that he's going to do it again. And especially, according to what is explained in Kabbalah and Chassidut, and Befirish, and it's written, it says, Nigla Kavod Avaya. all the prophets talk about it. The glory of God will be revealed. That is a pasuk in Isaiah, right? Yeah, Isaiah chapter. The glory of God will be revealed. Everyone will see that it is the mouth of God that is speaking, that's creating us. And in the future, there's going to be a revelation of the glory of the essence of God, Melech Malchi Elohim HaKodesh Baruch Hu, the King of Kings, HaKodesh Baruch Hu. We learned this also last week a little bit. We touched it. Actually, we skipped over a little bit of this. What it means that God took us out of Egypt. It was the King of the Kings of Kings. Remember we learned that? This Malchi is talking about Chachman bin Adas, and the Malachim is talking about Malchut. And Melech is how God is over all this. Anyway, the God took us out of Egypt. God will be revealed to everyone. Ba'asher davar melech sholton, because the word of the king will rule. And the whole entire world will see and feel that they're a creation and they're being created from God's love. Everyone will see and feel it. And this God is the God of Israel, the God that gives the Torah. Same God, only one God. There is only one God. But the Hashem shemayim nasu, and with the word of God the heavens are made. Ubaruch piv kol tzavam, and with the breath of his mouth all of the hosts of heavens are being made. So everyone will see the beauty and the, how do you say, the wonder of all creation. And that will be amazing. And the biggest beauty and wonder of all is that God gives us responsibility. That we have to do something with this gift of reality that God is giving us. That we are partners with God. Everyone will see this. That's the job of Moshiach. How important we are to God, and how not important going to heaven is. How important this world is. That all flesh will see together that the word of God is speaking. People will see the power of the Creator in the creation. The Shemayim ba'oretz, and the heavens and the earth and all of their hosts. There's a very important thing here is this idea when I'm talking about responsibility, that after a person dies, he's got no responsibility. That's a bad state. That's a bad state to be in. It's like, the home for the ages, veterans home or something. You don't do anything. You just sit around and get chocolate or, change the channels of your television program. You don't do anything. You just sit and wait. Worst thing in the world. Worst thing. To have no responsibility, to have nothing. In heaven, you got no responsibility. That's not man. That's not the goal of man. Maybe it's a reward. It's like, after you finish working, they give the word, they retire you, they give you a gold watch or something, they give you a pension. Who needs it? Right? If you could give these old people anything they wanted, they'd say, listen, what I want is not the pension. I want to be young again. I want to have that responsibility in the world. The world is tremendously important to God. Heaven is not important to God. It's important, but not that, nowhere near as it. It's nice. Nice. The main thing is this physical world. And Moshiach is going to reveal how important this physical world is, because in this physical world, we have responsibility. It's all dependent on us, each and every human being. Our lives are in our own hands. That's what God made it. How is it possible? So it says that then when the Moshiach comes, it's going to be all these big revelations. How can it possibly be that going out of Egypt will be also when in the days of the Moshiach? And we'll finish that class today. This is today's class. Tomorrow we'll continue, because this is for the people tonight. They'll watch it on on YouTube. Okay. Now let's do here a little bit of a speech that. One second, I want to turn this off. No, it doesn't work. Okay.